Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and once again, I'm joined by my lovely co-host Angel.
Hi.
And we have a little surprise for you. We're not here for our regularly scheduled Port Charles coverage, but we decided we are going to take on another show, Guiding Light. I've
Yay.
always been intrigued by Guiding Light. I've dipped in when it was on here and there, but I never really stayed very long. So I'll roll the credits and we'll get right into it.
And then
So,
before we
go
start,
ahead.
a little bit about my history with Guiding Light. So I started around 1977
Okay.
and in and out until the bitter end. And by bitter end, I mean yes. If you're familiar with Guiding Light's ending was very bitter. Um,
Yeah.
so I do know a lot of characters. I have I've been on soap opera boards since I was like 15.
hmm
So I know a lot of characters. I know who the I knew who like a majority of those characters were when I was watching them. So yeah.
Okay. So surprisingly, I did know quite a few characters, I guess from just that like soap opera magazines and just being in like the message boards and like everything. And also just dipping in and out. Um, but then also there was like actors I recognized because they used
Hmm.
to soap opera all the time. So even
Yeah.
if I don't know the character, I can just say the actor's name.
Hmm.
So, all right, so let's actually get into what we watched. So it's New Year's Eve, obviously. We're starting a new year. I don't know if I said this at the top of the episode, but we're covering 1995. Um, we watched 3 episodes, so we're watching January 3rd to January 5th. So New Year's Eve party. At first, I thought the set was the diner, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. Everybody's just like going to a diner for a party, but it wasn't the diner, so we saw the diner set later.
Yeah.
Was this an established set? Like, is this like a bar that everybody goes to, like the recovery room on Port Charles?
I actually don't know. That part I don't know. I don't know if that
Okay.
this was just like built for the built for like specifically this or if it was something that I don't know. I have no idea.
Um, my first actual note is Vincent Irizarry. I was just so
Hmm.
excited to see him. I didn't know he was on in the mid-90s. I thought he was like an 80s character with Judy Evans, like their popular
So
couple.
this is the twin. This is the
Oh, okay.
twin of Lou Jack, McHenry.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. See, I also didn't know if Lou Jack, because Lou Jack is his name. That's the name, Lou Jack.
Lou Jack's the name of
I always thought it was a Swish
of
name for a couple because
those
it's like
character names.
it's such a like an odd name. I always thought
Yeah.
it was a Swish name for a couple. So what is his name? Nick?
Nick McHenry.
Nick? Okay, so I gotta change that in my notes so I don't call him Lou Jack.
Yeah, so yes, this is Nick. This is Nick. Little history about Nick. Alexandra gave birth to twins. One of them was stolen. The stolen twin was named Nick. So
Okay.
yeah, it was
Um,
if you could find the scene where she finds out, she should have been nominated or won an Emmy for that. That was just so good. So good.
so Nick sees his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend Melinda dancing with another man, and
Right.
I'm like, is that Leanna Love from Young and the Restless?
Yes,
Like I
Barbara
knew it
Crampton.
was
This is
like
Barbara Crampton.
because I
I
knew
think
she was on
this
Days,
is
I
the
knew she was on
third.
YNR. I'm like,
Yeah.
so I literally went to Wikipedia and I like had to find out.
So this is the third Mindy. Right? Yeah,
Okay.
because it's Krista. I forgot. I'm forgetting. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I never knew how to pronounce her last name. Krista, who was on One Life to Live as Tina, the Tina before Andrew Evans came back.
Oh, okay.
Then it was, oh my gosh, what was her name? Kimberly Sims, because I saw like a whole like locker room with her and one of the writers,
Okay.
uh, and that was like when she Kimberly Sims was Mindy when her and Roger had an affair, and
Okay. See, yeah,
Alexandra.
and you calling her Mindy I've heard that name before, Mindy Lewis.
Mhm.
So I just didn't know that was the same
Yeah.
character.
And
Okay,
then there
cool.
was one after that, like, kind of like that didn't last long, and then it was Barbara Crampton.
That's so cool that she, like, was everywhere.
Yeah.
And, like, a lot of times, like, not to do an East Coast, West Coast thing, but, like, New York soaps, like, the actors would just hop around those soaps. Every once in a while, somebody would hop across the country, and she
Mhm.
was on YNR, obviously, that was in LA, so she went across country for that. Like, you
Mhm.
have your exceptions, Farrah Fawcett went from Days to One Life to Live,
Yeah.
but generally, they stay in, like,
Mhm.
the New York area if they're on a New York soap,
Yeah.
like Whole
I miss New York
Um,
soaps.
I'm so mad that, like, they all pretty much were gone by the time I was, like, deep into the soaps,
Yeah.
community. Um, I found out after the fact that As the World Turns, filmed in Brooklyn. I was like, "What?"
Mhm.
Um, so there's a character named Dylan who is blind,
Mhm.
and he's leaving town, and he leaves a note with his friend David to give to his girlfriend Bridget.
Mhm.
Now, because I'm trying to listen to the details, I'm trying to hear, like, gauge, like, who people's names are and, like, their relationships and everything. At first, I'm like it was just because it was, like, an emotional goodbye between the men. I'm like, "Are they a couple?" I was like, "Did guys ever go there?"
I
I'm
know,
like
I was like, I knew they weren't a couple, but I'm like, "Wait a minute. Huh."
I'm like, "Were they saying it without saying it? Because they hugged and they were crying," and I'm like, "What? What is happening?"
I'm like, "Wait a minute. This is like, no, they wouldn't do this in 1995, would they?" I'm
I
like,
was like,
"What?"
"Good for
I'm like
them." But it wasn't. They're just really good friends. And also I saw Bridget and I'm like, "Why does she look familiar?" It was bugging the hell out of me, and then I realized that at one point I had started 1992, and she was on back then, so I just
Mhm.
recognized her from that.
Yeah.
Um, um, Rick Hurst is playing Alan Michael. Love seeing Rick
Yes.
Hurst. I love him in everything that I see him in.
Yes.
Um, and I put Tangi, a couple.
Yeah, Tangi, Miller, I think her last name is. Well,
Mhm,
Marcy Walker from All My Children and,
right.
Enid from Santa Barbara.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's Marcy Walker. Probably in her most, like, least remembered character,
Really?
like, because this was basically, so in case you're not aware, viewers, these episodes are EP'd by, Joe Farron Phelps.
Oh,
So, a lot of her friends are here.
that explains the explosion.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so it's exposure, which we'll get to that later. We'll get to that later. Like, Marcy
That actually
Walker
explains a
came from
lot
Santa
now that
Barbara.
you
Yeah.
mentioned it.
Marcy Walker came from Santa Barbara. I think
Um,
no, Vince Series already did come from Santa Barbara, but he was a guy like before, so that doesn't really count. I feel like there
that
was
makes
another.
sense for Rick Hurst, eventually being on GH then when she was there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, I like the through line. I like that we can kinda map out her reign of terror.
Map out her brain, yeah.
Although I
See
didn't
how
always hate everything she
she
did.
operates.
Um, so Dylan is missing from the party, and Bridget goes looking for him, and she's devastated when she finds out that he left. I have to say, I don't know, 'cause I like, me not, like, being a veteran of watching this show,
Mhm.
um, I was pulled in almost immediately, just, like,
Yeah.
between the sets and the acting and
Mhm.
like, it was an actual story, and I was just, like, enthralled in everything that was happening. Like even her being like when she got the letter from David that, Dylan was leaving, just the way her eyes teared up, and she was like
Mhm.
I was like, "Everybody is really giving 100%, and I love it."
Yeah.
They were also probably allowed to take more than one take back then.
Mhm.
Um, Roger, who I have heard about for years, but never have actually seen, has Alan Sr. tied up and forces him to say that he's not sick. So apparently he must have been lying
Mhm.
that he was dying. To Tangi, apparently.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess they were
I
romantically involved, or he was trying to
didn't
play on
realize
her
that they were
emotions.
romantically involved. Like, I was like, because by the time I watched the 1977, the whole Tangy thing was just like non-existent. I think even
Really?
Josh was with her, or he's about to be with her. I don't know. I have no
Hmm.
idea.
Um, and Roger has a needle that apparently, if he is sick, is supposed to help him, but if he's not sick, it could be um deadly, maybe. And right before the credits, he sticks him with it. Now I've seen Michael later on, so I'm like, he's fine.
Yeah,
Like I know he's not gonna die. Not Michael, Alan.
Alan. Yeah,
Um, but maybe he doesn't press down on the needle to inject it. Maybe he just sticks him with it.
and he goes,
Um,
ah.
um, from what I could gather, it seems that he blames Alan for him and Holly
Hmm.
breaking up.
Hmm.
Now I know Roger and Holly are like a famous couple. Um, I know that they're kind of a rape man, that he raped her.
Yeah, it was like it was marital rape.
It was
Well, it
marital
wasn't
rape.
kind of like it was marital rape.
Okay,
They got
like Jack
married.
and Kayla.
Yes, exactly like that. Yep.
Um, Blake seems to have taken on a new profession as a private investigator. And she's just sitting in her car on New Year's Eve. And I'm like, does she actually have a case, or she's just sitting in her car looking at binoculars looking for something to happen?
Right.
I'm like, I don't think that's how PI works. I think people come to you and then you're on a case.
Yeah.
She's like looking at birds, looking at dogs.
Hmm.
Um, and then she gets startled by someone coming to the door, and I wasn't sure if it was Ross or Russ, but later on
Ross.
I heard Ross.
Yes,
Um,
Ross. I think they're married at this point. I'm not sure.
is he the actor that plays Asa on One Life to Live?
Yeah, no, not Asa. Clint.
Clint. Okay.
Clint. Yeah, he was the second
Okay.
Clint. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm like, he looks so familiar, and in my head, I'm like, Asa. That's who it is.
Yeah. No, it was close. You got the family member right, but you got the
Okay.
family right, but not the members.
Okay. Again, another New York soap. So he just
Hmm.
hopped over.
Yeah, which
um,
I remember that they got rid of like around 2005, 2006 ish. They got rid of a lot of actors, put them all in recurring, and then Ross was well, Jerry Verdun was one of them, and he just hopped over to One Life to Live and became Clint.
oh,
So that's and he was on since like the 70s too. So
really?
very established character, and they just put him on recurring, and Jerry Verdun's like, I need to eat, and that's well, he didn't say I need to eat, I just assumed that he needed to eat. So
Yeah, he had bills to pay. New York's expensive.
yeah, New York is expensive.
I mean, even though I think some actors like would live in Connecticut or like on the like
Mhm,
neighboring states and commute, but
mhm.
um oh, we see Joshua. He enters the party and he's in a bad mood. He goes right to the bar. The bartender's trying to joke around with him, and he's just like not having it.
I
So
I thought it was interesting to see him like Riva lists, because like every
he,
single time that I've seen Josh, because remember I saw in 1997, there was
yeah,
Riva trailing behind him in some ways, or
mm.
or like even when he wasn't with Riva, they were like kind of like pining after each other. But it was interesting seeing him without Riva.
At this point, Riva's dead.
Riva is dead. Either she's
um,
in San Cristobal or in Amish country, we all know at this point, but
what's the timeline with that? What actually happened first?
I think San Cristobal found it happened first.
Okay,
I'm wondering if because it's 95, she's in Amish country.
okay,
Hmm.
hmm.
Because like that's where Alan finds her. Well, not to spoil it, but
We'll get there.
we'll get
So the reason why we picked this time period was because Cynthia Watros came on as Annie Dutton in
there.
November of '94. So it's about like a little, not quite 2 months into her run on the show. So we thought this might be a good place to start to see Annie and Joshua's relationship develop before Reva comes back, and then get
Mhm.
into the weeds with that. So that's why we picked this time period.
Mhm.
Um, Annie did not appear in these 3 episodes, by the way, but it's fine. And it looks like they're not together, so we're gonna get to see the beginnings of their
Mhm.
relationship. So that's good. I'm glad we picked that.
Yeah, I think she was with oh my god, what's his name? He's a Bauer. Um oh my gosh, come on, Angel, think of it. Michael O'Leary's character. Not Ed. Rick. She was with Rick before Josh, but Rick was off the show, so I think they were it was something with that. I don't know if that happened within the 2 months that we didn't see it with Cynthia Watcher's character, but I know that she was with Rick before Josh.
Um, Roger leaves Alan to escape, and he like leaves the keys, or was it the keys? Because he's locked up, right? He's like tied up.
Yeah.
Um, across the room, and he's like, "I'm sure you'll manage to get out somehow." And he grabs a bottle and of brandy, and 100-year-old brandy, by the way,
Nice.
and he leaves. Um, and Alan does manage to get himself out.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting older, but I was kind of like, I was like, Alan's kind of cute. I was kind of digging his facial hair, like, but also the
There
actor that
was
plays Philip is his son, right, on the show?
Philip, you said?
Yeah.
Philip and Alan Michael are brothers, so that's Alan's son.
Oh, okay.
Those are Alan,
But
yeah, those are
but
Alan's
aren't the
children.
actors only like a few years apart, like less than 5 years apart, and he plays his father?
Who, which
The
one?
actor that plays Alan, um, and the actor that plays Philip, aren't they like close in age, but they're like a father and son on the
Mm,
show?
I think
I would
so. I'm not 100% sure because, like, when Philip first came on the show, it was a whole different Alan. It was like Chris Burnell,
okay.
who was like clearly older. So
Mhm.
then, Grant Alexander. But I think that it was. I think that that wound up happening because you know, they had another guy playing Alan in the late 80s, and then now it's Ron Rain. So I'm thinking that they are not
Okay.
too far apart, and they basically have to do like old age makeup and stuff like that. So
Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
mean, like just to like gray his beard and like his hair
Mhm.
and stuff like that.
I've
Um,
always liked this character. I like that I like villains sometimes as long as they have, like,
mhm,
redeeming qualities. And for me, the redeeming quality is seeing him and, like, a baby, Hayden Panettiere. Like, I loved him and Lizzie's relationship when she was a baby, like, I felt like he was her soft spot.
mhm,
So, and I know we saw a lot of characters, but I know there's, like, a lot more characters that we haven't even seen
mhm.
yet, so I'm excited. Um, so Alan no, I'm jumping far ahead. Um, Alan, Michael, and Tangi end up at her apartment or house, and they were making out, and they kinda said it without saying it. I think he was saying, "Should I go get condoms?" He just didn't say it out loud. He was just like, "Am I blowing it?" Or, like, if I go for 10 minutes, the
Mhm.
he was gone for more than 10 minutes. I was like, "There's not a CVS or a gas station at the corner you can rent to."
Yeah, right.
But so he
Run to the pop
leaves.
shop.
He leaves, and then, there's a knock at the door, and it's Alan, not Alan Michael, his father,
Mhm.
and she tries to slam the door in his face, but he kinda, like, pushes
Mhm.
it open and barges in. So, she must know that he lied
Yeah.
already. Okay. So she wants nothing to do with him because she's, like, appalled.
Mhm.
Um, Roger's drinking alone, um, vowing to work things out with Holly, and then throughout the episode, we saw Vanessa,
Mhm.
and I couldn't quite hear or understand who she was looking for, whoever she's in a relationship that we is this
Matt Reardon.
it's Matt Reardon, okay,
It's Matt Reardon, Bridget's brother.
okay. So, hold on one second.
Yeah.
I just noticed that my laptop's battery was red, and I didn't want us to get cut off, so I plugged it in.
Oh, I was.
Um,
Yeah. I'm looking down at mine too. Luckily, it's charged, so and it's plugged in.
um, so yeah, I didn't know who she was looking for. She was snooping around. Ross leaves Blake to her PI work, and he runs into her in like what looked like an alley. And she just kind of plays it off like she's going to like the payphone, and I was like, "Oh, payphones."
Uh,
And she waits for him to leave, and she hangs up the payphone, and as she, like, goes about her business, there's an explosion.
mhm.
Now, is Vanessa the role that Marge Doucet plays at one point?
No, it
Okay,
is Alexandra.
okay. Oh, okay.
This is Maeve Kincaid playing Vanessa. She, in fact,
Oh, okay.
I think Anna Stewart Temp replaced her for in the 80s. I think.
Oh, I could see that. They look similar.
Yeah, they have a similar look. Yeah, they played sisters on Another World. So,
Oh, really?
yep.
Hmm. So, okay, so then I made up a whole thing in my head because I was like, "Oh, it would be funny if, like, there was an explosion with
Oh yeah,
her, and
that's a
then
little
when she
thing. I
comes
forgot.
to, it's Marge Doucet."
That's a,
Um, but okay, so that's incorrect. So, yeah, that's how the first episode ended. So I was like, "Oh," I was like, "All right, I'm ready for the next one."
and then like a little bit, and then I don't know if you noticed this, but like when Vanessa leaves like the building, somebody comes into the building, implying that the explosion
It was set up.
was set up. Yep.
Okay. So it wasn't like faulty wiring or something, like
Nope. Somebody did something and to make that building explode.
okay. I took notes differently this time instead of just taking it, like, so where I would miss something if I
Mhm,
looked down, I just watched the whole episode, and then I just kinda did a summary of what I remembered
mhm,
because I didn't wanna miss anything, especially since I'm trying to learn who these people are. Um, so we get a replay of Alan trying to enter Tangi's apartment, and we get a replay of the explosion, and a replay of midnight, New Year's Eve midnight. Um, Alan and Tangi, I put were together, but she's also attracted to Alan Michael, but when she found out Alan lied, she ended up pursuing something with Alan Michael. That's how I was
mhm.
trying to piece the story together.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Vanessa comes to after the impact when Ross, wakes her up. And she's kind of disheveled. She doesn't really know what's going on. And then when she sees the fire, she starts screaming.
Mhm.
And we don't know like what's going on. And she tries to actually run to the fire. And he's like, "What are you doing?" Like,
Yeah. Now I just want to let you know that Matt and Vanessa's affair is a secret. Like their love is a secret. So she can't so if you notice she can't really say Matt is in the building because then they'll out
right.
it. So
Yeah. Well, once I didn't really know who she was meeting or anything, but once like what we see later, I kind of figured
mhm.
it was a secret just based off of everybody's reaction.
Yeah.
um, so Joshua ends up going to the diner. That's how I realized that the party was not the diner.
The Fifth Street Diner.
And talks with Buzz.
Yes, Buzz Cooper.
Okay.
Harley's dad and Frank's dad. And I'm sorry, Lucy's dad too. Yeah.
Right. We get a mention of that. So he talks to Buzz about not living in the past. Apparently, he answered a personal ad and it was Lucy, and she gave him that advice. And that's when he was like, "You answered my daughter's personal ad," and that's was like, "Okay, Lucy's his daughter." Like, I mean, like these little tidbits. I'm like putting family trees together in my head.
Like, hey, you're dating both of my daughters. Like, what's going on with you?
um, Bridget makes an announcement that Dylan has gone to seek treatment or therapy for his condition and that he had to leave right away. Um, so then David's there with his wife, who
I
said had a
forgot
line
what
where she said, "This is my first New Year's Eve party," and I'm like, "You're a full grown adult. Where have you been?" Um, she mentions she said something that made me think, "Okay, this is like a like not a real like a marriage of convenience almost."
yeah,
Like
it's very
he's help because she
convenience.
said, "Oh, you helped me." Um, was it like a green card thing?
That's what I'm thinking because there was because remember I don't know if you noticed that this in the last episode, but like an agent came up to her and was like, and I completely missed it in my first watch, so that's why I went and rewatched it.
Okay.
And there was like an agent like kind of like harassing her a little bit.
Oh, the guy with the facial hair, the blonde
Yeah,
guy.
uh huh.
He looks so familiar. I thought it was oh my god, what's his name? From that played Mason Capwell on Santa Barbara.
A Martinez? No, no, not A Martinez. I'm sorry.
Um,
Which Mason? Hold on. Weren't there
oh my
three
god, he's on the
Masons?
Bay with Nancy Lee Grahn. He was paired with
Oh.
Lane Davies. Lane Davies.
Lane
I,
Davies?
I thought it was Lane Davies,
Yeah.
the blonde, and so I like immediately went into Wikipedia, and I'm like, that's not him. But he looks so familiar. I've seen him in other soaps. I think
Hmm.
I don't know who it is. But okay, he was an agent. Okay, I didn't know who he was. I was like, he must be a character because he looks familiar. So he's like a known actor.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. Um,
And I
I
forgot
heard
the
so
name too. Forgot the name of David's wife. Was it
yeah,
like
I couldn't catch what her name was,
yeah,
but
they said it, but like I forgot. I looked it up. I kind of looked up on Wikipedia because like on Wikipedia there's like a whole like page of like 90s guiding light, and
mhm.
whoever her name is wasn't a popular character. I'm wondering if it led to, if like their marriage because David was with Nia Long's character who left in '94.
Okay.
Uh, I'm wondering if that's what led to Nia Long's character leaving, and that's why a lot of people didn't like her.
Ah, okay. There was another couple there, and for the first episode, I couldn't get where her name was, but then after the explosion happened, they said Jilly. I was like, "That's Jilly!"
Julie
Like, I've heard
Grant.
about Jilly from, like, Daytime Confidential because Melody
Uh
Akers
huh.
used to always talk about Jilly, and I'm like, again, I thought Jilly was a squish name. I didn't know I thought it was a couple. I didn't know it was, like, one person. She looks familiar. I've seen her in other things.
Oh, she was on Passion. She was on a lot of stuff.
Oh my god, she was Eve's
All my
sister.
children, Eva's sister.
Oh
Yep.
my god, I know her very well.
Yeah, I believe she's on All My Children as well. I'm not sure.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
thinking that was her.
Oh, I love that. I know her. Um, yeah, so once Vanessa comes running into the party and she, like, is looking for Bridget, like, she needs
Hmm.
Bridget,
Hmm.
and she says, like, "There was an explosion, you need to come," and I'm like, what is this little girl gonna do? Like, call the fire department. What is
Yeah,
this
right.
why do you need her specifically? Because I didn't know what was going on. And then Jilly also runs out. So at first I'm like, "Okay, is Jilly a doctor?" I didn't know she was a news reporter.
News reporter. Yep.
Okay. So she goes to the scene to report, and it's very smoky, and I just feel like this is not a healthy place for everybody to be. I'm like, all I
Hmm.
could think was smoke inhalation. Thanks, this is us. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
like, everybody needs to get away from the smoke.
Uh huh.
Um, at the at the explosion site, Vanessa won't say who she thinks is in there,
Hmm.
and Alan Michael walks in after the longest 10 minutes to go get condoms and sees Alan and Tangi talking about their relationship. um, and he's either angry or jealous that he's there.
Hmm.
Um, Vanessa sees I put man because I didn't know his name. She was looking for, and they embrace and kiss, and everyone seems shocked to see them together.
Hmm.
Also, like I get the initial hug and kiss, but they like had this whole romantic, like swooping moment. Like they were the only two in the center. And I'm like, this isn't the place because all I kept thinking was smoke. There's smoke and fire.
Uh huh. And everybody was running. They were kissing, saying "I love you" and everything like that. And
So I'm like, I don't know. I was like, I don't understand why Bridget looks pissed. I don't understand why Ross looks shocked. Like
so Ross was with Vanessa before. They
Okay.
have a daughter named Dinah coming later this year.
Oh, I know who Dinah
Uh,
is.
yep. Wendy Moniz. Yep. Yep.
Well, I know,
Bridget,
Gina Tognoni's.
yeah. Oh, you'll love Wendy Moniz if you like Gina Antonio. Um, Bridget and Matt are related. They're
Mhm,
brother and sister.
mhm.
Um, Mindy was at some point, because I know Bill and Vanessa were married. Some point, like step mother and daughter.
Okay.
And this is a May December romance. So
Mhm. Now, I kind of have seen these 2 together. I just didn't know
Mhm,
that's who she was looking for. 'Cause I had one at one point started watching 97 because I wanted to see when, Laura Wright first came on,
mhm.
and he had just returned to the show, I guess, after being gone for a little while, and they had, like, a reunion. So I was like, "Oh," I was like, "It's this couple." I was like, "Why is everybody pissed?" Because
Well,
I just thought they
see,
were,
I
like, a
watched
thing.
that same point. It was so Vanessa was killed in a car accident in '96,
Oh, no, so
and
she came back, he didn't. They were
well,
reunited, that's what I
yeah,
saw.
she came back,
Okay.
but she would never really left. They just had her in Switzerland because she was recovering from what thought initially thought was Parkinson's, but it was just a soap opera disease. So, because she was shaking, her hand was shaking, and I
Okay.
remember the car accident. In fact, I do remember watching it in '96. So I lied. My first episode was not '97; it was in '96. So I remember her hand. My mom was watching it. Her hand was shaking, and she had the car accident.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Oh, she has Parkinson's or something like
Mhm.
that," or somebody had said because I remember when my
Was she
mom
like,
was
"He could
watching, she
never
had
love me because of my
my
incurable disease."
disease, my incurable disease, kind of like Eric on the Bold and the Beautiful, the consumption.
It also reminds me of Chloe when she had her scar on Days. She was like, "I'm ugly. He can never love me. I'm a monster. I'm Ghoul Girl."
Which that could have been so much better too.
And then on her wedding day, when he lifted her veil, she was magically beautiful again. Never mind, a few hours before, while she was getting her makeup done, her scar was still there, but she
Mhm.
healed.
Yep.
Um, so the explosion has caused a fire that is burning down basically a block of apartment buildings. So I'm guessing it's
Mhm.
almost like a city where almost like the brownstones are really close to each other. It must be like
Yeah.
that. Um, I put I put Bridget and Ross are still shocked to see Vanessa and Man kissing because I didn't know his name. They haven't said anything. They haven't been like, "Yo, what's happening? Like, what is
Uh-huh.
this?" They just keep like scowling in the smoke and this fire, and people like trying to get out of there. Um, so we see Frank, and I put Woman from Providence, the show Providence,
Yes, I
the
love
Greek
that
woman.
show.
What's her name?
No, I'm sorry. I'm saying Melina Kanakarides, but that's not her. That's not her character's name.
Uh-huh.
Eleni. Eleni.
Eleni. Okay.
Yep.
Um, so they went away for New Year's. I don't know if they just went to a hotel or if they actually left
Mhm.
town to like have a nice couples getaway. But earlier in the week, probably the first episode, we saw that Lucy was babysitting. She was going to babysit Marina.
Marina. Yep.
Um,
Which I love how she says Marina. I can't say it. She says it with like a Greek flair.
yeah, right.
Melina or
Yeah,
something like that. Like something like Melina or something.
yeah. It was almost. Yeah, you're right. Because at first I was like, is she saying Marina? Like Marina, like the one that I know? Like, I didn't know that she was Marina's mother.
Yeah.
So,
Frank and Eleni got married. They had
so
Marina.
okay,
We thought Marina was Alan Michael and Eleni's, but Marina is a Cooper, in fact. So,
okay.
which is why later on, when Alan Michael and Marina got together, that was gross.
um, yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like it either. That gives
Um,
Bridget and Rick, and not Bridget and Rick. Wow. Okay, that would have been terrible. Bridget and Ridge.
right. I don't know why soaps do that. It's just gross.
I don't know.
Um, so she can't seem to Eleni can't seem to shake this, like, weird feeling. She's just worried about her daughter, and she just can't, like, enjoy herself.
Mhm.
And Frank eventually is just like, "I'll just call and check up on her." So he calls he says not the lodge,
The boarding house?
boarding house, that's what he says. And nobody answers. So then he tries to call, I guess, Lucy directly, and nobody answers. He's like, "How come nobody's answering the phone?" I'm like, "Well, it's after midnight. It's probably like 2 in the morning,
Mhm.
but there is an emergency happening. You just don't know about it."
Yeah.
Um, so eventually they decide they're just gonna go home, and maybe next time they'll bring Marina with them.
Mhm.
Um, where am I? Oh, so Holly has gone to the movie theater by herself just to, like, avoid Roger, I
Uh-huh.
guess. And she runs into a coworker. I don't know who he is.
Fletcher Reed.
Okay.
So you remember Ben Reed played by Matt Bomer?
Yes.
So that's his father.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In fact, he does mention Ben like during, when their conversation, like kind of it's like Ben went out to see a friend, I'm all alone. That's what so Fletcher and Ben are related. I forgot
Okay.
who his mother is though. Somebody help me. Oh well.
Um, apparently they must run into each other a lot because they both accuse each other of following each other.
Mhm.
Um, and apparently they both work for the newspaper.
Mhm.
So that's how they're coworkers. They don't know anything that's going on, and then, like, the worker at the movie theater is listening to the radio, and he says that there's a fire, so they bolt out of the movie theater to go report on it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, kind of spoiler like that they do get together, but I like the beginnings of it. It's giving like his girl Friday, like kind of like the old timey
mhm,
movies type of thing with oh, I read a newspaper. Oh, I like you, I don't like you, that sort of thing. Like
yeah.
enemies to lovers type of thing.
I guess his car won't start because he ends up hopping in her car so they could go
Mhm.
together. He thinks he knows a shortcut. She wants to go her way. He says my way is like a bypass, so they go his way, but the bridge is closed, and she gets a flat tire.
Mm.
And he's like, "You don't have I can't believe you don't have a spare." She's like, "I do have a spare. It's just being used at the moment." I've been there. um, at the newsroom, Tangi has arrived. So Tangi works there also.
Mhm.
And she's kind of taking the reins to stop the presses before the next day's issue is out because she wants the fire and
Mhm.
explosion to be the front page news.
Yeah.
So she kind of hands out assignments to who's going to report on it, who's going to write this, who's going to get this section, rework the cover, stop the
Mhm.
presses. And she wonders where Holly is.
Mhm.
Um, Joshua arrives at the explosion, and there's like one cop there. And then while the cop gets distracted by another guy yelling, he just manages to like run around him and get into the fire.
Oh man.
And he finds Lucy unconscious, and he gets her out of there, and he does CPR,
Mhm.
and she manages to blurt out Marina.
Mhm.
So then he runs back in to find Marina. Um, there was just to rewind, probably 2 episodes back. There was a scene with Lucy and Marina when she was babysitting her, and Marina was like putting like a face mask on and like just
Uh-huh.
going on and on and on. Like she's like, it's so difficult being a girl and finding the right man. Like you just like, you have to watch your weight. You have to put face masks on. You have to do this, this, and this. Um, and I forgot what the word was. She
She's
said a word and
she
the little
said,
girl
"Are
said it
you?"
wrong. What?
She said, like, "Am I something or aggressive?" Marina says aggressive, and then like a short time, a pause happens. She says, "What's aggressive?"
Yeah, she said, "What's aggressive?" She said that, and then she was like, "What's aggressive?" And I was like, I was totally like not improv, but the kid like being like, "What's that mean?"
What's that mean? They caught it. Oh my gosh,
It was cute.
that was cute.
um, so Josh ends up finding Marina because she yells,
Mhm.
and at first he puts a blanket on her and he goes to, run her out, but the fire has kind of blazed and he can't get
Mhm.
past it. So he tells her to climb on his back, and he puts the blanket over her, and he breaks the window. And he manages to get outside the window. But this episode was very dark, like
Yeah.
color wise. Like
Uh-huh.
besides this, with between the smoke and it being nighttime, the quality wasn't great, so I really couldn't see. I saw the blanket fall, so I don't know if he dropped her or she fell,
I
but
think they both fell.
oh, they both fell.
I think they both fell. I'm like looking. I'm like, I have to like watch it again. I'm like, oh, I think they both fell.
Okay,
So
but yep, that's how the episode ended. Every
yeah.
episode kind of had like a cliffhanger. I like it.
Hmm.
Keeps me enthralled, and I want to watch the next one.
Yeah. The next
Um,
three.
did they miss anything?
No, I think we covered it. Oh, I mean, we can't talk about this guiding light without talking about the opening. Unless you skipped it, then we're not going to talk about it.
No, I didn't skip. I never skipped the opening.
Good, because oh my gosh. So I just discovered something about the opening. Well, two things. One,
Hmm.
there's like there's in like the middle of like one of the okay, well, let's talk about the obvious thing. The opening is like a nod to Knots Landing because of how it goes from like
Yeah,
left to
yeah.
right, the
Uh-huh.
characters and everything like that.
I almost
Oh,
wondered if it was an anniversary year, because I was like, are all these
I
people
don't
really
think
on
it
the show? Or are
was.
these just like clips of classic things?
I don't think it was an anniversary year. I think they just needed a new opening, and they're like, "Oh no!" Jill Farren Phelps took over that year, and
Okay.
yeah, and they redid the opening based on that. I think every time Jill Farren Phelps, except for Santa Barbara, takes over on a soap opera, the opening changes. So
Oh, really?
I'll give her that. At least
Okay.
she changes an opening. She knows how to change an opening.
Okay.
Um, except for maybe the General Hospital. Well, that was like network mandate anyway, and I'm sure she would have done a really good job if there wasn't like a mandate to like have the opening the same as All My Children One Life to Live, sort of.
Hmm.
I'm sure she would have, because like it's proof when she did the white opening with like the characters and the names and stuff like that. That was a really good opening. But let's talk about Hold On to Love, which is what the opening is called.
Okay.
So I noticed that like when you follow the ring around the ring,
Hmm.
each character is connected to each other. Um, so like if you see Blake, for example, Blake comes in a dress. Follow the ring around. I think it goes directly to Ross. So
Oh.
like if you go like around it,
Hmm.
I don't think they
Oh.
do it as much like later on when they update
Hmm.
the openings. But I know initially like it's just like, oh, it's connected to this. Um Michelle and Bill are in the opening, but they're in a picture. But initially that was Ed and Maureen in the picture. When Maureen died, they had Ed and Michelle, and then they have Michelle and Bill.
Okay.
And then when
So,
Michelle became a teenager, they just had a picture of Rebecca Buddick. So
so something I probably made up in my head because I don't know. Because I was like, oh, I wonder if this was an anniversary year. There was at one point, it was really quick. There was like a clip of a guy standing shirtless, and I was like, "Is that Kevin Bacon?" So I was like, "Is this an anniversary year?" They're just showing clips of everybody that was ever on the show.
that was
Probably
Dylan.
wasn't Kevin Bacon.
That was who the guy shirtless is Dylan.
Oh, is it? Okay, so it
It
wasn't
was
Kevin
Dylan.
Bacon.
Yep. He's still in the opening. I don't know why he's still in the opening when he's gone, but hey, look,
Hmm.
we'll take it. By the way,
Does
Dylan and Reva are related. Dylan is Reva's son. Bill's son as well. So Bill and Reva had a something had something going on, I guess, between her and Josh, and Dylan wound up being the result.
oh, okay. Reva has a lot of kids, huh?
Yeah, she does. She has Dylan, she has Jonathan, who are outside the marriage, and then she has oh no, I forgot about that one with not Richard. What's his name? What's the guy's name? Jeffrey. And then she has three kids out of the marriage with Josh, and then she has Mara and Shane. So she has five kids.
Wow. Sammy
I
Brady's
don't
not
think
too far
Josh has
behind her.
any
She's her
kids
4th.
outside of wedlock with
Hmm.
Reva.
Didn't
Huh.
she wasn't she pregnant towards the end of the show at, like, 55 years old?
Yeah, that was the kid with Jeffrey.
Okay. So did
Because
her and Josh
remember
end up
he was
together in the end?
yeah, her and Josh ended up together on the end, and then the kid that was with her, Colin, I think his name was, that was the kid with Jeffrey, who had died, but they didn't really resolve it because reasons.
Okay.
So
Does Dylan ever come back not blind? Like, does he get cured?
yes,
Okay.
I think Bridget winds up like leaving the show to be with Dylan.
Okay.
And then I know Brian Gaskell from Port Charles, who will be his Rafe. He later played Dylan for a while, and then
Oh, that's who he
and
played? I know that he went on there.
yeah,
Okay.
and then
I always laugh because, like,
I forgot the
he was on,
actor's name.
Models Inc., and
Yes.
allegedly he was fired because he couldn't act very well.
Oh
But I had
no,
seen him on Port Charles first, and I was like, "What do you mean he's fine? I like him."
he was on
He was
the
on My
Bay.
Children also.
He was on the Bay, and his
He was on The
character scared
Bay,
the
yeah.
crap out of me. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
god, she did such a good job on there because like they're like, oh, it's just the angel Rafe, like that's not a big deal. And then then what happens on the Bay? I'm like, oh shit.
It's funny, every single like, it never fails, every single time I watch Guiding Light, doesn't matter what time frame it is, I see somebody I recognize. Like,
Hmm.
I told you I had started 1992 just on a whim,
Hmm.
and, Mira Sorvino was in it. I was like, every freaking time. Every time. So I really feel like Guiding Light was, like, where a lot of people got their start. More
Yeah.
at least from what I've seen, more so than any other, so
Yeah, I mean because it started in 1952 as a TV show, and then
Mhm,
1937 was it was a radio show.
mhm.
Um I look, Cecily Tyson was on it, James Earl Jones was on it, I believe.
You mentioned Nia Long,
Nia Long, yep.
what's her name? Brittany Snow was
Brittany
on.
Snow, yeah. I just saw a clip of Brittany Snow. Well, I remember when Brittany Snow was on there. She's the same age as me, and then of course I was watching Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and she was on there for a stint.
Brittany Snow is almost 40 and she still plays teenage roles.
Well, no, she wasn't a teenage. She was an adult in that role
I
in
know,
Crazy
but she's been playing
Ex-Girlfriend.
teenage roles for like
She hasn't
20,
played.
30
Yeah,
years.
she is so like she's literally my age, and she's still playing teenagers.
Like, I remember years had gone by, I'm like, "Why is she still playing a teenager?" I know she has a baby face, but
Mhm.
I think it was, when Pitch Perfect came out, like,
Pitch
that was
Perfect.
college, obviously, but I'm like, "She's a lot older than this."
Hmm.
Um, alright, well, if you don't have anything else to add, I guess we can wrap it up.
Well, one last thing about the opening. Somewhere in the opening, there's like a light, not a light, wow, a sun with between trees. I
Okay,
want to say that's not a montage. Wow, a homage to the opening in the late 70s with
okay.
the tree with the light with the sun in the trees. So that I like that. I like that. I want to say it's a homage to that, but so I said that was and people were like, no, it wasn't an homage. I'm like, okay, fine, but I would like to say that it was an homage to that. So
I see, I find that interesting that, like, the soaps every, like, decade or close to it would change their openings, because I'm
mhm.
so used to Days never changing.
Yeah,
Like
well,
like, the
except
first
when
time
they
they
shortened
changed
it.
was, like, 30 years in, and it hasn't changed since.
Yeah, well, except
They've
when they
shortened
shortened it,
it,
which I don't know.
but,
I don't know
like
why they haven't like made the opening longer again when it was
Mhm,
when it's on Peacock and the
mhm.
episodes are longer. Mhm. You
Um,
can't bring back the music from for days. No, no, you
right, and
can't.
sometimes on Peacock, the episodes are shorter than they would be on
Mhm,
broadcast. Sometimes they're, like, 33
mhm.
minutes. I'm like, "How'd that happen?"
Yeah.
I used to love the closing credits for Days where it had the hourglass and, like, the sun was setting,
Uh-huh.
and they would play the whole theme. I just loved
Ah, that
it.
gives me chills. Like, I love the Days of Our Lives theme. Gives me chills.
But, alright, well, thank you for joining us for our first go around with Guiding Light. As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great day, night, whenever you're watching this. Bye.
Bye.